Greetings, BUSN 1360 Software Applications for Business. I'm Dr. McGrory, and today we tackle our last chapter grader, which is PowerPoint Chapter 4. And you're going to love this. I think I say this for each chapter. You're going to love this grader because we are going to explore animations. We're going to explore a trigger. We're going to apply that. You'll see what that is. We're going to do transitions, and specifically the morph transition, which is kind of a fun one. And you're going to see how these animations and transitions can really be used to emphasize information that's in your PowerPoint. So it doesn't just add excitement, it really adds information by allowing your audience to focus on what you're trying to present to them, the information you're trying to convey. So, as you know, I've already downloaded my files to my desktop. I've organized them in my very neat PowerPoint 4 folder. If I double click to open that, let me just move this over here, you will see that we don't have too much. We have one image file, we have our instruction file, and of course we have our PowerPoint file. Let's start with the instructions. Now this is kind of a long set of instructions. I have 4 pages. It goes about 29 instructions, but they go pretty quickly. So, it doesn't matter because we're going to walk through them just one at a time. Let me zoom in, and I like to begin with the project description. Why are we doing what we're doing? Well, this is a travel company, so we have really cool pictures to share, right? So, anytime you have great images and pictures to share, PowerPoint is great for that. But we also have information that we need to share because when people travel, they want to understand things like, how should I dress? What is the temperature going to be? What kind of things are there to enjoy? So we're going to use, and what this description says is that our owner, Victoria Jones, she's the owner of the Destination Travel Company. She's asked us to update a presentation on, and this is pronounced Roten. I researched that. That's what I found, Roten, Honduras, one of the featured tours of the agency. So we're going to really spotlight these things. We're going to draw people's attention to that. So you know what step 1 is. It's to start that PowerPoint. So let's do that. Of course, it's the one with our last name on it. Here it is. And just looking through it, it already looks very colorful, doesn't it? And we see some smart art graphics in there, pictures, a graph. I'm just looking at the thumbnails over here on the side. So all types of things, right? I love this thank you page. So that's great. Let's jump in and let's do this. Let's see what our instructions say. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down just a little so we can see better. We finished step 1. Step 2 says that the images on the photo gallery slide have not all been grouped with their corresponding frames, and so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to slide 6, and we're just going to do a little grouping. So back to our PowerPoint, and we're going to go to slide 6, and they want us to group the fish. Now this is the fish right here with this white border that goes behind it. I'm going to hold my Shift key down. You could also hold your Control key down. And what I did is I clicked the first one. Let me click away. I clicked the first one. I hold my Shift key down. I click the white background. Now I release the keys on my keyboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my mouse on top of those images, and I'm going to right click. When I do, I'm going to see this menu option to group, and that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to group. We're also going to do that for the parrot image. So I'm going to click to select the parrot. I'm going to Shift and click the background. You can see from the sizing handles that both of those images or objects are selected. I'm going to keep my mouse on top of those objects. I'm going to right click, and again I've got the group option, and I'm going to group. And now you can see the sizing handles have changed. So that's one object. It's effectively acting as if it's one object. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. double check there. Let's see, we grouped the parrot image, we grouped the fish image, and so let's continue on. And step number 3 says you're going to continue grouping objects in the presentation so that they can be manipulated as one. So we just have some more grouping to do. So let's go back to our PowerPoint, and we need to go this time to slide 10. And so we have, it looks like a family-owned company, right? The linguist owned this company. So I'm going to click one time to select Vanessa's photo. I'm going to hold my Shift key down and click the text box with her name. Now you can see from the sizing handles, both are selected. Keep your mouse on top of those objects, right-click, and group and group. Same thing for Alan. We're going to click one time to select him. Then I'm going to hold my Shift key down, select the text box with his name, keep my mouse on top of those objects, right-click, group, and group. Save that, because that was the instruction. So let's go back. We just finished step 3. Let's go back, or let's continue, I should say, to step 4. Now we need to align those. We're still on slide 10, but we need to align those two. And it says to align middle. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. I've already got Alan's picture selected. I'm going to, and now I've got it selected. It's one object, right? The text as well as the picture. That's one object. Hold your Shift key down. Click one time on Vanessa's picture. You can see now both groups are selected, and I need to align these. So up here on my Format ribbon, I'm going to move down here to Align, and when I click to expand that, Align Center would stack them on top of each other, so we don't want to do that. We want to come down here to Align Middle, and did you see each one adjust a little bit? So now they look more uniform. So they're aligned through the middle. Save that. Let's go back to the instructions. That was step 4. So you see it's a lot of instructions, but we're moving pretty quickly through these. So step 5, it says because we have a large amount of information in these slides, the Smart Art, they say, was not a good choice. So we want to convert that Smart Art to text. Probably not something you thought you would have to do, but sometimes, as they say, a large amount of information. So we're going to go to slide 2 to do that, and then we have to adjust the font size of the resulting text. So let's go back to our PowerPoint, and they wanted us to go to slide 2, and this is my Smart Art. I just recognize with these pretty graphics that that's what this is. I'm going to click it. Now I can see that I clicked on one of the objects and I have dots, you know, kind of an extra sizing handle here. I really just want the entire Smart Art selected, so I'm making sure to click on the edge of the Smart Art. And, you know, again, the key word here is that we want to convert it, not create a new text box, but we want to convert this. Well, last time we were converting text to a Smart Art, we were on the Home tab and we had this convert option. And you'll notice that it's grayed out this time. It's not available. This time we need to go over to Design, and on this Smart Art Design, the very last button, Convert, and this time, and you notice we can even convert it to just regular shapes, but they've asked us to convert to text. Voila! There we go. Now it's just that good old bulleted list. Now I still have the entire placeholder selected, and that's fine. They want us then to increase the font size. So I'm on the Home tab, and if I look across just as I normally would, increase my font size. Now it's easier to read, and it doesn't have the graphics, and graphics can, you know, be larger in terms of the storage size. So let's save that. And let's go back to our instructions. On to step 6, and I'm going to scroll up a little bit so we can see. But look at this, we're already getting towards the end of this first page. And on step 6, it says that although our SmartArt conveniently groups all shapes together within the SmartArt graphic, you want to work with the shapes individually. So we want to convert to shapes now. And they're talking about slide 9 here. So let's look at that, and we're going to convert the SmartArt to shapes and then ungroup those shapes. And it even says we're going to delete some of the gray, this gray shape that's surrounding some of the images. So let's go back to PowerPoint. And again, they said to go to slide 9. And so this is our SmartArt. If I really kind of click anywhere, do you see the sizing handles go around? Now I do see that I have sizing handle here in the middle, like this particular object is selected. I don't want that. I want to make sure I click the SmartArt itself. So I'm going to come over here to this edge and click, and notice that now I don't have that sizing handle in the middle. In this way, it's just much more clear that the entire SmartArt is selected. So remember that at my Home tab, this convert is grayed out. That's a little strange to me, but nevertheless it is. And so up here on SmartArt Design, come down to Convert and Convert to Shapes. Now, how do I know that it converted to shapes? Well, I could click away. In fact, I clicked the title. I clicked away. When I come back and I click, it still has that container. Well, what's going on here? They're grouped. And so we need to ungroup this, what used to be a SmartArt. Now it's an image that's all a bunch of images and shapes that have all been grouped together. So with my mouse anywhere on top of this grouping, right click, and again I should see group, and this time I have the option to ungroup. Now I can really see that these are a bunch of shapes. So look how they're all selected. I don't want that. Click into a safe space someplace, like this blank area of the slide. That deselects. Now they told me they want to delete this gray. So if I click on the gray, I've got the dots going all the way around. That gray container is selected. I'm going to press the delete key on my keyboard, and it is removed. Save that, because now each one of these is an individual shape. Let's go back to our instructions, and we are double check 6. I think we've done all those steps. On to step 7. Now they have not told us to change slides, so we should still be on slide number 9, and they're telling us to select the gold, the blue, and the green, those shapes that we saw, and we're going to change the height, and we're even going to set the vertical position for them. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. And here's the gold, and I'm going to click it. I'm going to hold my Shift key down, click the blue, keeping my Shift key held down, click the green. Release all keys, any keys on your keyboard. Now with this selected, they said they want the height. So I'm going to go to Shape Format, and I'm going to come down here to Height. And they want the height to be 1.2, Enter. And notice it fills in the inches mark. Now they're all uniform in their height, and they want to change the position. So I'm going to click this launcher button here, and I'm on this size and properties icon, and if I look down below position, and they only told us the vertical, and they want the vertical to be 3.75, Enter. Oh, look at that. If I click away, meaning in a safe space, I can see that these are, look at this. It's such a cool way to update the look of those pictures, right? You've got this rounded corner picture. You just add a graphic below. It's a nice way to apply a label to this. So save that. And let's go back to our instructions. That was step number 7. Let's continue on to page 2, step number 8. Now for this one, it says by default there's 2 guides that display on the screen, and we're going to add more guides because what they want us to investigate is what they call and what you read about as the rule of 3s. In other words, they're trying to divide up the slide so that, or the rule of thirds, I should say, so that you can place objects more precisely. So in step number 8, what we're really doing is just getting our guidelines in place. And you may remember this from the simulation. If you haven't done the simulation, really encourage you to do that first. So let's go back to our PowerPoint, and we're going to slide 12, by the way. Here's slide 12 with the lizard on there. All right. So we need to go to View. And for me, the ruler is already displayed. If your ruler is not displayed, please check that to display it. And they also want us to check the Guides box. Now, did you see this? These are the guides. They just guide us in terms of where we're positioning things on our slide. So they want this vertical guide, and I'm going to move my mouse up here towards the top, to go to about the 2.25 inch mark. So I'm dragging, and I'm looking at the number that's displayed. There we go. So 2.25. Now, we have that 1 in the correct spot, but they want to add another vertical guide. So I need to get my mouse over that vertical guide, keeping my hand very steady, right click, add another vertical guide. So it added it a little closer to the 2.5 mark. I'm going to keep my mouse over that, press and drag, because I'm going the same distance in the opposite direction. If I can get, there it is. So I have one of those vertical guides, you might think of it as negative 2.25, and one as, you might think of it as positive 2.25. So far so good, but we're not done yet because they also want to adjust the horizontal guides. So here in the middle, and I'm just going to come over here to near my ruler. Here's my horizontal guide, and they want this set at 1.25. So I'm just dragging it. Same type of process. There it is. And then again, I'm going to add another one because I'm really dividing my slide up into thirds. Right click, add horizontal guide, and here it added it a little lower, and I'm going to drag it down 1.25. So here's my 0 mark. One horizontal line is at, again, think of it as positive 1.25, and one is down here below at negative 1.25. So save that. That was a lot of steps, but that was step 8. So let's go back to our instructions. On to step number 9. Now it says, it reminds us that now the slide is broken into those thirds, and so we're going to place objects according to the rules of thirds, that design principle that you read about in your text. And they give us these steps, and then they tell us, look, here's how you're trying to place this object. You're trying to place it exactly at these positions. So I'm going to show you what they're telling you to do, and then we are going to use our techniques for setting the horizontal and vertical position, because we know that the grader is going to be looking for things, you know, exactly at that position. Okay, so we don't want to ballpark it because the grader might mark that wrong. I don't know, maybe not, but I don't want to risk it, right? So let's go back to our PowerPoint. And here's our guides, and they're really focused on this word thank you, which is kind of off balance for their design principles. So I've clicked so that I can see the edge of that text box, and then I'm going to put my mouse over the edge, and I'm just going to press and hold my mouse down as I drag. And when I do, they say, look, you can use these guides, and as I see the edge of that text box, I can make sure that it lines up with that lower horizontal guide, and I'm positioning that vertical guide so that it runs right through, oops, move my hand, I still have my mouse button held down, so that it runs right through the middle between the H and the A of thank you. Now, right as I released my mouse button, you notice that it jumped just a little and it moved off. This is kind of a cool thing to know, that when you need to move something with great precision, I want to move it horizontally to the left, but I don't want to risk that I might accidentally move it up or down a little bit. So with that object selected, just use your arrow keys. If I left arrow, do you see it scooching? It's just boop, boop, boop. There it goes. And I could keep doing that. Or if I went too far, I could use my up, down, right, left arrows. So using your arrow keys is a very precise way. I find when I am working on a laptop where I don't have a little wireless mouse separate, I'm trying to use that pad, which might apply to you, that the arrows are a great help for me. It keeps my hand from cramping, and it helps me move things very precisely. So I hope that helps. Now, again, the grader is going to look for this to be in a very precise location. So let's check. We've got this selected. Let's come over here to our size and properties, and let's look at our horizontal. Well, I'm not too far off. My horizontal is 3.07. It needs to be 3.05. Whoops, goodness, that was not the way to go. Well, I'm going to type that in there. 3.05 for the horizontal. And for the vertical, look at that. I was able to really just lock that or snap it onto the guideline. So perfect. Save that. The last thing they instruct us to do is to turn off those guides. We just don't need them anymore. So I'm on the View ribbon, and all you got to do is deselect guides, and they went away. It would be no problem if you left them on. They're just for the slide deck. Remember, the slide deck is what we're looking at now, and this is where we're doing editing. In the show, they would not display. Save that. Back to our instructions. And we just finished step number 9. Let's continue on to step number 10. And it says we're going to rename the object. We have a lot of objects and pictures and title boxes and all kinds of objects in this PowerPoint slide. And as we work with them, it's going to become hard to recognize, is text box 7 the fish, or is text box 6, the group 6, the parrots? It's hard to keep up with. So we're going to name them, and that's going to be an important thing, and real easy to do, real fun to do. And then we're also going to see how we can then position them to be in the front or in the back. So I'm going to show you some things that you saw in the simulation to make sure that you're understanding it, because they're doing it slightly differently in these instructions. Here in these instructions, they're saying use these buttons, bring to front or send to back. And these are things I use all the time. But if you have that selection pane open, it's also good to understand that. So we're working with slide 6. Let's just go to our PowerPoint. Easier to show than to describe. Click on slide 6. And we need to open our selection page. Well, I need to get rid of this format background panel because it's just taking up too much space. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to the Home tab. And towards the end, if you see Select, click on that. And down here, Selection pane. Now I have this panel on the side. And I can see some things are already named. If I click Diver, it picks this group, and this group consists of the picture and the rectangle. Can you imagine trying to remember that picture number 56 is the diver? That would be hard to remember. I see the pier is nicely named. Now, group 7, I don't know about group 7. Let's click on that. And it's the parrots over here, and they've asked us to name that parrots. So I'm going to click again on group 7 because that lets me edit. And I'm just going to delete. I'm using the delete key on my keyboard, and I'm going to type parrots, and that is plural. Double check that. Yes. I've selected. Let me click on group 6. I'm going to click again so that I can edit. Now, sometimes when you try to select in this box, it will keep going back out of the edit mode. If so, just use your delete key, click inside it, use your delete key to delete the text. Being careful not to delete the group. If you delete the group, Control Z, right? That is your undo function. So group 6, I'm going to call that fish because that's the fish. And I'm going to hit enter. I am going to go ahead and save this, although we're not done with this step yet. So it says click or select the diver group, and so that's this group here, and it says bring it to front in the arrange group on the format tab, and they're really specific about that. Bring to front in the arrange group on the format tab. Okay, so if we go to we could go to what, picture format, or should we go to shape format, because they just say format? Well, to me it's both a shape and a picture, so I'm going to try shape format. I think we'll probably end up with the same impact, but I have diver selected, I have shape, and they said bring to front. So see where it says bring forward, click on that drop down box, and before I click bring to front, I want you to notice that diver group is at the very, very bottom of the list in the selection pane. And notice that on my slide, it's as if this was the first picture that I threw down on the desktop. And that means these other pictures are on top. See how the corner of this pier is on top of this? In the same way that the fish object is on top of this. So there are layers here. It depends what was laid down first or second, right? Or how did we layer those? Well, they're saying that they don't want this to be at the bottom. They want us to bring it to the top. Well, here's diver at the bottom. I'm going to bring to front. Look what happened. Diver moved up here to the top, because what this selection pane is also conveying to you is the layer order. This is now your top layer. And you can even see that this is now on top of our picture. So we kind of pulled it out from underneath the bottom of the stack and we put it on top. Save that. We're not quite done yet. Next, they want us to move this sunset group. So if I click, here's my sunset group. I could have also clicked it over here. And they want us to send this to the back, send to back. So not just backward or forward. That means one level. Move up or down one level. They want us to go all the way. They took us diver all the way to the front. They want now sunset to go all the way to the back. So if I click that, again, watch sunset over here, send to back, and notice that it put it at the bottom of our selection pane. Now, in the simulation activity, they had you drag these. They had you drag diver to the top, and that changed the order. They had you drag sunset to the bottom, and that, again, changed the layering order. What they're attempting to show you by really being specific in this step of the grader, we're on step number 10, is that there's different ways to do the same task. So save that. And let's go back to the instructions. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit because we're on to the next step, which is step 11. So it says we notice two pictures that would look better if the backgrounds were removed. So you will first remove the background from the map of Roten. And that, they say, is on slide 5. Now, there are multiple ways to remove a background, and they are telling us very specifically that we must use this method, the remove background feature. And then they're telling us that we're going to have to fix it up a little bit to mark areas to keep. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. Let's go back to our PowerPoint, slide 5. Select slide 5. So this is the map that they're looking at, and they just feel like all this white background needs to be removed. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If it was me, I would click this. I would go to picture format, and probably what I would do is I would set that as the transparent color. And the reason it would work, for all pictures, it does not necessarily work. The reason it would work in this case is because I can look at this white background and see that it is all the same color. If you took a picture of a person against a white wall, you would find out that that white wall has a lot of different colors in it. So when you went to set the transparent color, it really wouldn't work correctly because it's not all the same color that you're setting to transparent. For that reason, they really want you to understand this remove background, because what this does is this is Microsoft being very artificially intelligent and recognizing that there is kind of a central object in this picture. And so the background is everything else. So click that. And this purpley, think of that as almost like green screen, if you would. This is the stuff that's going to go away when we say to keep the changes, because we have to accept it afterwards. But we're not quite ready to accept it. First, we have to, and look at this, we can either mark areas to keep or we can mark areas to remove. Well, we're going to mark areas to keep. And you're going to see how terrible I am at this, and I hope that the grader takes mercy on me. So we've got this little bitty island right here. Oh goodness, I'm going to try to get it. I'm going to try to get this little island right here. There's one more little one here. And here's a big one. You'll really be able to see how pitiful my drawing skills are. I want to keep that. Ugh. Okay, so I didn't do too well. There's a little, there's even a little bitty island right here. Again, if I lose points on the grader, y'all are just going to have to forgive me because I am, goodness, doing the best I can. Okay, so here we go. Let me go around, and I'm just drawing. This might be better with a touch screen, maybe. I don't know. Oops, okay, I didn't quite get all of it. I thought I did, but let's just do the best we can. There we go. So what grade do you give me? I don't know, C minus? Okay, I'll take it. Keep changes. And that's when it kind of locked in. See how now we can see the background through this? Now, if I was to really zoom in, like on this island, you can see my drawing was not really careful, and consequently there's just a little bit of background image that's seeping through there. Same here at the other end of the island. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to save. I say it's okay. I'm going to tell the grader to have mercy on us. We saved that. Let's go back to the instructions. That was step 11. Let's go on to step 12, which also deals with slide 12. And now we're kind of going to do the same thing to the iguana. And it says we're going to use this remove background. And again, we're going to have to mark it up to make sure it keeps the correct areas. So you did this in the simulation. That may seem very familiar. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Let's go down to step 12. And see this background, this is a great example where transparency would not work, because if I tried to say set like maybe the black or one of these brown dots as transparent, that's the only thing, the only color that would be set as transparent. So click that image. We're going to do it the way they suggest to us. Picture format, remove background. Now that, I'm going to say artificial intelligence. That computer is pretty smart, because it said, I see this iguana. It didn't get all of it, so I'm not ready to keep the changes yet. I need to go to mark areas to keep. And, if some of the background comes through on each of his little spikies right there, I'm going to be okay with that. So I'm just going to kind of cut over here. Oh, look at that. I just did one line and it kind of filled in, but you do see the black is still in between his little spikes where it's not here. But again, I'm kind of okay with that. What else am I going to do? I'm going to say, maybe let me start over here, and I'm going to say press, and I'm dragging, by the way. Press and hold the mouse key down. Keep it held down while you drag your mouse around. And I see I still have some of the background going through there, but it's not too bad. Keep changes. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. That was step 12. Let's continue on to step 13. And we're going to do a little bit more with an image. We're going to increase the saturation. Pretty cool. It says we're going to go to slide 1 and we're going to look at the image there with suitcases and apply a saturation of 200%. Kind of a cool effect, and I really like it with this slide 1. So let's go to our PowerPoint. Let's go up to slide 1. We have a big image here, and it indeed has suitcases on it. I've clicked it. I've got my sizing handles going around. It's selected. I'm going to go to picture format. And I'm going to come down here to colors. Now you'll notice there's categories: color saturation, color tone, recolor. We're interested in saturation, and specifically, and it's so cool that when you hover over these, that PowerPoint is already showing you what it's going to look like. So you don't have to keep picking one, undo, pick another, undo. You can just kind of see before you select it. Here's 200%. Click. Doesn't that just feel warm? It's like such a warm destination because you've increased, what, the kelvins on that maybe? Let's save and think about our quiz questions and go back to the instructions. So that was step 13. Did we do all parts of that? We did. So let's continue on to step 14. Now we're going to apply an artistic effect. Well, that's kind of cool. And it says we're specifically going to apply a texturizer artistic effect to the iguana. Make him have some texture because he's an iguana. And then we're going to set the height and the horizontal and vertical positions. So let's do that. This was slide 12. Here's our iguana. And once again, we're going to go to picture format. And this time, artistic effect. And they want texturizer. So who looks like it would add, well, that's interesting. Cement, that's kind of an interesting one. I'm having to look, okay, I'm trying to do my best at eyeballing these. So I'm in the 1, 2, 3, 4th row down, second button across, second choice, texturizer. I'm going to pick that. And you see how the picture, he does. He looks like he has a little depth to him now because he's got this texture. Well, we're not done yet. They want us to set his horizontal, well, actually his height. Let's start with his height. Still have this selected on my picture format ribbon. Go across to height. And the height should be 2.37. And enter. And then they want the horizontal position. So my selection pane is open right now. I don't need that. I'm going to close it. But I do want to click the launcher for size and come down. I'm on, again, my size and properties icon. Come down here to position. And the horizontal should be 0. 0. Enter. And the vertical should be 5.13. Enter. And look, now he's just peeking out of the corner down there at the bottom to say thank you. I like that. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. On to step 15. We're going to add a background image. And some of these things I know you are well versed in. Setting a horizontal position, height, background image. I think these are things that we've done in many different PowerPoints and in different Word documents and Excel, I think, as well. So I know you're really comfortable with these, which is why I'm moving through a little faster this time, okay? So we're going to insert this background image that they applied. We're going to do this on slide 4. And then look at this. We're going to change the offset at the bottom and also at the top. This is really cool. I think you're going to like this. Let's go back to PowerPoint. And we are going to slide 4. This is a blank slide. Now, I've got my format panel open. If you didn't, just right-click, format background. That's what you want. It could even be that something else is selected instead of the background. So just right click on this blank area of the slide, format background, to make sure you have your background panel open over here. Format background. Now, do you remember this? Adding a picture? We've done this to a shape before. We did the heart with the kids in it. Remember that? And that was cool. I'm going to click on this picture. And this is just the default background, not to fear. Come down here to Picture Source and Insert. This is going to be from a file. And it's looking, how about that? I'm kind of surprised. It's looking in my PowerPoint 4 folder. If not, navigate to where you've saved your pictures so that you have the right thing selected. Click this Roten background, Insert. Now, isn't that beautiful? But we're not done, because what they want us to focus on is the sunset. And we see the sunset, but the majority of the picture is the water. So they don't really want to crop it because that would make the picture smaller. They don't want to just stretch it to the ends of the earth. They want to instead change the offset. So remember what this looks like, and let's slowly make some changes. First of all, the offset at the top is -16%. Check that. If it's not already -16%, change it to -16% because that's what we need. It should hopefully already be set. That means the only one that we have to change is here at the bottom. And so backspace over, to delete. And you see my picture's already changed just a little bit. Type your negative sign, 73%. It kind of knows percent, but -73%. And I hit enter. It may not seem like it, but I hit enter, and I'm just going to click a little below that to make sure that it got that change. In fact, it makes me nervous that that's still flashing there. So, and I've had trouble with that in the past. So I'm just going to make a suggestion to you. Click another slide. I'm just going to click slide 5. And then let's come back to slide 4 and just make sure that that is still set. Resist any temptation to apply to all. We're not applying that picture to all the other slides. That's what that would do. But now let's return our focus to what we just did. Look how cool that sunset is now the center, real focus of this. And this, of course, is our featured destination. So it's important that that is set in that way. Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. That was already step 15. So let's scroll down, and we're already on page 3 and on step 16. For step 16, they have not instructed us to change to a new slide, so presumably we are still on slide 4. And this is going to make sense as we look at the instructions, because it says to select the title placeholder, and we're going to adjust the transparency. And specifically, we're going to make the transparency 20%, and then we're going to set, again, the horizontal and the vertical positions to be very precise. So you're very well versed at that by now. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. We're still on slide 4, and up here at the top we have featured destination. And it looks a little transparent because I can see my palm trees a little bit, but not very clearly. So we're going to make that more transparent. Click one time. Make sure that you don't have an insertion point. You've just got the placeholder. So if you need to click on the edge, make sure that you've got that. And when I look over, my paint bucket is selected, and that's what I want under Format, Shape. Solid fill, but when I look down here, I've got this blue color. Transparency is currently at 10%. You can either type 20% in there, or if you want to use your arrows a bunch of times, you can go up to 20%. As I did that, look how the palm trees are a little more visible right now. I like that. It looks good, but remember, we also need to set the horizontal and vertical position. And we know that that's under this icon. Come down here, position, Now horizontal is already set to 0, so vertical is the one I need to change. I just backspaced over what was in there. 6.2, enter. Oh, look at that. It moved it down here towards the bottom. Doesn't that draw your eye to the sunset? When this title was up here at the top, we're looking at the top, we're reading at the top. But now, because we read top to bottom, left to right, our eyes go ooh, and past that beautiful sunset and down to featured destination. And aren't you just ready to be there? Save that. Let's go back to our instructions. That was step 16. We are on to step number 17. And they are really right about this first statement. It says because the presentation contains many images, you need to compress those images. Remember, if there are images that have been cropped, it still has that information. They can be uncropped unless we compress them. They tell us to go to slide 1 because there's a picture there. So we're going to use that as the basis of our compression. Go back. I need to go up here to slide 1 so I can select this picture. When I have this picture selected, click on the picture format ribbon tab, and here's compress pictures. Now here's the trick, the key thing to remember. See where it says apply only to this picture? Well, that's not what we want. We want to apply it to all the pictures. It's a little opposite of what the default normally is, so just be aware of that. They did tell us email 96 PPI, minimized document for sharing, and OK, click OK. So now any of those pictures that are in our PowerPoint have been compressed, so our file size should have been reduced. Let's go back to our instructions. That was step 17. On to step 18. Step 18 says that we need to animate a smart art. Oh, I don't know that we've done this before, so we're going to add some animation to our smart art graphic on slide 3. More than that, we're going to change the effect options so that that smart art is going to be animated from the left and then one by one. So let's see what exactly they mean by that. Let's go to our PowerPoint. Let's go to slide 3. And this looks suspiciously like a smart art. And I accidentally selected this middle shape, so I want to make sure I click the border so that I have the whole smart art selected. And I know how to add an animation. I'm going to go to animation, and they said the wipe animation. Now remember, it previews it as soon as I click it. That wasn't very exciting because it came in from the bottom altogether. So the first thing they tell us to do is effect options from the left. Now again, watch this. Well, that's already looking a little better, but did you notice that when you clicked on the effect options, you had these sequence options, and they suggested one by one. Notice the default is as one object, or it can come in all, that's the default, and then it can come in all as once. One by one, and look at this. Isn't that cool? Now, I like the preview, but I'm going to caution you again that when you're working on this in a real-world situation, you would like to look at the show, because that's where you really see how it's going to function. So remember, I can just click on this little slideshow icon down here at the bottom. Nothing happened, because it's requiring a mouse click. And if you want that, that's great. But this might be a signal to you that you want to change some of those settings so that it happens, for example, after previous and after a delay, something. So you may want to think about that. Escape to get back to the show. But looking really cool already, isn't it? Very exciting. I'm going to save that. Let's go back to our instructions. That was step 18. On to step 19. So it says to highlight the temperatures on the island, we want to animate a chart, a column chart, showcasing the ideal times. And they give us several things that we need to do. So let's just go to our PowerPoint, and I'll read out these instructions as we go. We're going to slide 8. select the entire chart. So make sure that you've got the sizing handles on the outside and nothing inside selected. Okay. With this entire object selected, we're going to go to animations. I'm already there. You're there. Let's again, is it wipe that they, yes, they want again the wipe animation. Now you saw a preview, it came in from the bottom up. They want to change the effect sequence. Let me just make sure here. Change the effect option sequence to by element in series. So we're going to go over here and notice that it understands that it's a chart. Is that not just the coolest? That PowerPoint is so smart. It says, oh, this is a chart. So maybe you want to animate it by element in the series. And then look at this. Isn't that cool? And I'm going to close this format background because we don't need it for just this moment. I might want to open, and I am going to open my animation pane, because when I open that, it's very small for some reason. Let me stretch this out a little bit. Do you see how it just has the number 1 and then it has the like expanding things? If I expand that, what you can see is that there's going to be a bunch of mouse clicks that's required here. And if I were to preview it, which of course I am, I mean, can you imagine you're giving a presentation and you're like, click, and first of all, why was that even there? I don't understand that. But, and then you would have to click and click and click. I don't think this is the intended effect. So escape, and I'm going to just collapse this again, just because I don't need to adjust them individually. It tells us in the instructions to deselect start animation by drawing the chart background. So what they're saying is when we go into the show, they don't want the first animation to be that. They want that to already be there. So escape. So how can we do this? Well, if I go to this first animation, see it up here, and I click on the little drop down box next to it, and I'm going to go to Effect Options. And look, I mean, this is kind of cool. It doesn't just say something about animations. It says chart animations. And there's a checkbox here, Start Animation by Drawing the Chart Background. Nope, don't want to do that. So deselect and OK. Now they can preview that, but I'm not done yet. They also, okay, it's finished. When it's finished there, I still have all this the animation selected here, and they said set the animation to start after previous. Again, I'm just going to work with this one primary animation here at the top because it's really controlling all the others. Start after previous. You see how it's 0 now? That means no mouse click. It's just going to happen. And then we're not quite done yet. They said in this duration panel that we need to set this to 0.75, enter. And then for the delay, we're going to set this to 0.5, enter. Here's what I want you to understand about the purpose of this animation. Yes, animations are cool and they're fun and they add entertainment and excitement to your presentation. No doubt about it. But if I put this chart, this column chart on the screen, you are going to be struggling to look at all this information at one time. Did you ever notice the weatherman on the news, that he doesn't put every single day up there all at the same time? They have one day come in and you look at that, and then the second day and the third day. It allows you or your audience to digest this information. For example, here's the show. And do you see how that delay allows you just enough time to really see? You may not memorize every temperature, that's not the goal. But when is the hottest month? June, September? You're seeing that trend come in, aren't you? So here the animation is giving the information impact. Okay, I want you to kind of see that and take some ideas away from this. Let's go back to our instructions. And that was, did we do all parts of step 19? I think so. That was a beefy step. 10 points. We got to make sure we get that correct. Step number 20, you animate a table on the travel experience by season to assist the audience with the best time to visit and when tourism is the busiest. So we're going to go through and we're going to do this, but it says, look, this table on the slide really is not one table. It's actually two tables because it's going to facilitate our animation. So they were very wise when they thought about this. So it's on slide number 7. Let's just jump in and do this. Here's slide 7. Now again, I project this up on the screen, you project it up on the screen, you're giving this presentation, nobody is listening to a word you say. You're probably not listening to me right now because you're trying to read this table. That's not what you want. Click this first table. Do you see that this is actually the entire object? The sizing handle dots go all the way around this. With that selected, we're going to apply, once again, the wipe animation. So I'm on Animations tab, Wipe. And you see how it came in there. They want it to start after Previous. So no clicking. It's just going to come right in. See how that's now at 0, 0. They do want us to set the duration. So this is how long it takes to come in to 1. That's going to give us time to read it. And they want us to set the delay at 0.5, enter. So far, so good. Now they want us to work on the second table. Click. Make sure your sizing dots are going around the second table. Again, they want us to apply the wipe animation. Again, they want us to start after previous. They want us to set the duration to 1.5. And they also want us to set the delay to 1.5. Save that. Let's preview it. I want to see what we've done. Oh, spring, summer, fall, winter. Oh, okay. Here's a lot of data. Now I'm going to focus. If I know that, which I do because of the way the data came in, that the information that I'm being given is grouped by spring, summer, fall, winter, well, when am I going to travel? Because I'm going to tune out everything else except for the group that is relevant to me. Otherwise, if it was all there, I'd be going, okay, spring, the humidity, summer, what is it, fall? I'm trying to read and understand. So this is adding impact because it's helping the audience to remember the pertinent information, pertinent to them. Save that. So really cool things to think about that I hope you're taking away from that. Let's go back to our instructions. Was that all parts of step 20? I think so. So let's go on to step 21. Oh, this is kind of cool. It says you're going to apply a motion path to the airplane on the slide so that the motion path runs diagonally through the upper corner of the slide and off the slide, simulating a takeoff. Now, folks, this is where I want you to be thinking about what you can do. Let's go back to PowerPoint. I'm going to go to my slides, and it's all the way down here, slide number 11. Now, think of anything where you want to give the appearance that it is dancing across the screen, or in this case, flying off the screen, because in PowerPoint, we are not restricted to the piece of paper. If I zoom out, see what I'm doing there? I can place objects out here. And why would I want to do that? Because I may want it hidden until such time I animate it to come on to the slide. I may want it to start off the slide over here, have an animation where it travels and exits the screen over here, and so that it's completely off the screen afterwards. I'll tell you a little trick. I know you don't necessarily want to spend time on my stories, but there was a time when I was teaching in my younger days and the class was struggling to pay attention. So in several different lectures, and they knew this, while I was talking, I had an animation that would give an answer to a bonus quiz question. And so that I wouldn't say anything, and none of the other students would say anything. If you were paying attention, you would just see that answer go across the screen and off the other side. And that was just your reward for paying attention, which was kind of fun. But I've done things also where something like this airplane, and that's what we're going to do, is going to fly off the screen. So I'm going to select the airplane. I'm going to make sure I'm on animations, and they said they wanted us to do a motion path. So click this. Now, they were very specific with this motion path, and I want to emphasize this to you because they said use this line, and so that's what we're going to do. But before I do, will you just bear with me and click on more motion paths, because I want you to see, look at the different heart pattern, triangle, hexagon, goodness, arcs. A lot of times we like to do arcs, a little kind of loop-de-loop, curvy left, curvy right, so a little loop-de-loop, heartbeat. Wouldn't that be awesome for something you love, not just a medical presentation, but maybe certainly for that? Spirals and funnels and curves, waves, zigzags. Look at all this cool stuff. A peanut. They've got a peanut shape, a plus sign, a swoosh. So you could get that kind of shape going. So there is so much cool stuff. Kind of a pointy star pattern here. All types of things. A bean pattern. Anyway, I mean, look at this. Figure 8-4. So that's kind of 4 times that. That would really be like a spring or a spiral. So many cool shapes. They even did have, if I'm not mistaken, yes, they even have a diagonal shape that would go up and to the right. But that's probably what I would use in real life, but that's not what they said. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to, again, I'm on my animations, drop down, go to line, and I'm zoomed out about 70%, and I'm glad we did that because look at this when I do the line. Okay, so the green is where it starts, that dot, the red is where it stops. And even in the animation, they hit it as it dipped down because their point is it goes off the screen. If we were going to show this at this point, here's my airplane, and I would click, and my plane has sunk. I don't think I want that. Escape. But because I'm zoomed out, if you are not, you need to zoom out so that you can see this lower point. I'm going to come back in just a little. Put your mouse over this red dot, and you are going to fly this plane all the way off diagonally. Let me get as close diagonal as I can, because the instructions say to get that red dot, which is, they say, turns to an arrow as we move it, and drag diagonally through the top right corner of the slide and off the slide. So do you see how it goes through this right upper right corner and off the slide? Now, first of all, save that, but just so that we can look at our work, let's go to the show. I'm going to click. And it flew away, didn't it? Excellent. Escape to exit the show, back to the instructions. That was step 21. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Step 22, we're almost finished with this page. To initiate the path animation. We're still on slide 11, they tell us here. We're going to add a trigger. What is a trigger? A minute ago, when we displayed the slide, in order to make the airplane fly, I clicked. So the trigger was on click, right? Sometimes the trigger that you've set is after previous or with previous. Those are triggers, but we're going to set a very specific trigger this time. Before we do that, they want us to do a little housekeeping. So the first part of this, there's really 2 groups of steps here. The first grouping is that we're going to name our objects so that they make sense. That's the first thing that we're going to do, and we're going to use that selection pane to do that. Next, we're going to add the trigger, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It says set a trigger for the airplane to animate on click of takeoff. Not just on click, but on click of takeoff. Let's go to our PowerPoint. And we're still on our airplane slide. And the first thing we want to do is go to Home. And let's go to Select and show the selection pane. Now, if your animation pane is still open, I think they've kind of collapsed it over here. Do you see that? You see these two buttons? This is their way of saving space. So they've kind of collapsed these into little buttons over here. Older versions don't do that. I'm going to close this animation pane just because I don't need it anymore. And see how it went away from that sidebar? So here's my selection pane, and the first thing they tell us is to rename text box 5. So see, here it is right here. Click that, and remember that you might have to click again to edit, and you might have to delete. And I'm going to type takeoff. Enter. So I've renamed that. It makes sense to me now because it's not just text box 5, it's the one that says takeoff. They tell me to select picture 4. Ooh, goodness, look at all this in picture 4. Click it again because we're going to edit. I'm just going to press and hold my delete key down. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff in there. And we're going to call this airplane. Enter. And then finally, title 2, click again to edit. They want us to call this, title, space, are you ready? They have that capitalized, so be very careful with your capitalization there. Now, first of all, I'm going to save that because we did that right. Remember, the second part of this is to add the trigger. So here's what they're trying to do. They want to click for takeoff. When we click that, then they want the plane to fly. What happens right now? What happens right now is we just click anywhere and the plane flies, right? They don't want that. They want to get you excited by having you click that button. So what are we going to do? We're going to select the airplane. That may seem strange, but we're going to select the airplane, not the button, the airplane. Up on our slide, we're going to go to Animations. Down towards the end, see where it says Trigger? Click on that drop-down box. On click of takeoff. Isn't that cool? Maybe. We don't really know what it does. Save it, first of all. And let's see what it does. I'm going to go into the show. And I think you might be a doubter. So what if I just click the slide? Because maybe you think, oh, if I click that button, any click will cause the plane to fly. So I'm just going to click anywhere on the slide. The plane did not fly because I did not tell it that I was ready to take off. I just clicked the slide. I did not click the button. So escape. Go back to slide 11. Yes, I could have backspaced or to go backwards, but go back to the show. This time, I am excited, I am ready, and I'm going to click for takeoff. Yay, wasn't that so cool? So now you've got your customer excited. They made that plane fly. And if I click again, then it takes me to the next slide. So that's what a trigger is. It's just basically more control over that animation. Pretty cool. We did already save that up. I'm just going to save it again just to be certain. Back to the instructions. That was step 22, and that was a trigger. So I hope you enjoyed that. You can do that with all kinds of buttons and make menus, for example, where somebody could click one button and it would take them to a different slide, for example. So you can do a lot of things. Be thinking, how can I use this? How can I, not just for this assignment, how can I use this for other things? So on to step 23. Step 23 says to showcase the travel experts, you use the morph transition. All right. All of these final steps, with the exception of submitting, have to do with morphing. It's only been around in PowerPoint for just a little bit of time. And what it does, kind of as the name implies, is it smooths the slide transition. So not an animation. Animation, remember, is one object on your slide, but it's a transition from one slide to the other. However, that transition is really morphing one object typically on the page. So we'll see. Let's look at it. It says we need to go to slide 10, and we need to do some things. Let me walk you through this. This is going to be the easiest way to do this. Let me walk you through it. Let's go to PowerPoint. Let's go to slide number 10. So here we have Vanessa Lindquist and Alan Lindquist, and the goal is to introduce them. Okay, so how do you introduce people? Have you ever met two people at the same time and you can never keep their names straight because somebody just said, here's Janet and Bob. They don't even look alike, but you're forever got their names kind of messed up in your mind because they came at you too fast. It was two people at once. We want to say, here is Vanessa and here is Alan. And we really want you to connect with each one of these people. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it using morphing. So we're here, we're going to select both images. So I'm going to start out with some formatting. I'm going to pick this one, hold my Shift key down, and click the next one so they're both selected. And I'm going to go up to Picture Format, and then Picture Effects. And they want me to use a 3D effect down here at the bottom, 3D rotation, and they want us to use something that's in the parallel category, off axis 1. Now that says left. I need it to be top. There it is. Second row, third one over. Off axis 1, top. It flattened them. See how it kind of flattened them? So, you know, like you had a card laying on a table, and then you're going to hold that card up so the audience can see. Pick that. So they're both kind of flattened there. Now, it tells me, because we're going to morph these pictures through a slide transition, we want to duplicate the slide so that it looks like one slide, but actually it's morphing from one to the next to the next. So come over here to slide 10 and right click on it and duplicate slide. Now that was step number 23. Save that. And step 24 is now going to work with that new slide, and we're going to format Vanessa first, and then we're going to format Alan. We're going to duplicate the slide again, and then we're going to format Alan. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through steps 24 and 25. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Now there's a little trick here with step number 24 where and actually step 25 where we're going to change the format to Vanessa. So I've picked this one. And notice up here they say that there's a shape format ribbon and a picture format ribbon. Well, it says on the slide, right-click the photo of Vanessa, and from the shortcut menu, select Format Picture. So I'm going to right-click, Format Picture. If you go up here to Format Picture and you go to Picture Effects, you're not going to find what they're telling us to do. So make sure you've done the right click and that then you come over here. And I tell you what's really happening is you're affecting the object here, and that's really what we need to do. So here they say to come down to the 3D rotation, see it here, and under the presets, so here's our preset, they want us to select perspective from the perspective category, perspective front, and it looks like that's the very first one. So that's the little trick. Make sure you're coming over to this panel on the side. Save that. That was step 24. Now remember I said step 25, I'll flash back here for just a second, is kind of the same thing, except now we're going to apply that to Alan. So what's the first thing that we need to do? We need to duplicate the slide. That was actually part of the previous step, because we're going to morph from slide 10, where they're both laying down, to slide 11, where Vanessa pops up, and now to slide 12, where we're going to have Alan look like he's popping up because he's being introduced. So we have Alan selected. We're still over here on our format picture. We still come to 3D rotation, and we want the preset again to come down to this perspectives and this very first perspective front. So now he's popped up. You see how the transition goes from each of these slides? That's why we duplicated it, and we're going to use this morphing. So save that. Now we're going to select slide number 11. I'm just clicked on it. I'm going to hold my shift key down and select slide 12. I could have also held my control key down, either one of those in this particular case. We're going to go to transitions, and you see the morph right there? Click morph. You see it preview it a little bit? And PowerPoint is saying just duplicate a slide and drag stuff around. Morph moves everything at once. In other words, it's giving you the appearance of that smooth transition. Okay, got it. Now that was step 26. But now we continue to step 27, and it says select slides 10 and 11. And again, we're going to apply that morph. See how here at the end, morph transition. But it says select the slides to advance 2 seconds. There's going to be a delay. And so this is something we can set as part of the transition. So let's go back to PowerPoint. It said select slide 10. I'm going to hold my control key down this time, and 11. And again, we're going to apply the morph transition. Okay, but way down here, it says advance after 2 seconds. So, oops, I'm sorry, I was looking at the duration. I was like, that's not right. Here it is. See how advanced slide? And it says advance it on mouse click. Well, that's fine, but either mouse click or after 2 seconds. So let's see. I'm just going to up arrow twice there. That gives me 2 seconds. Save that. You know we have to see how good our work looks. I'm going to start at slide 9. And I'm going to go to the show. Can I just say this? Let me get your ideas going. What if you set each one of these objects with a trigger so that when they clicked on an accommodations, it would go to the part of your PowerPoint slide that was about accommodations. And then you could have another kind of a graphic there that would return them to this. So this could be something you set up in almost like a kiosk type mode. So you have a show at a table and you have products that you want to show, and when they click on one of the products, it takes them to a slide where it gives them details about that particular product. Does this give you ideas? Okay. But we're looking at morphing, so there's no triggers here. I'm just going to click to go to the next slide. So let me introduce you to our Roten travel experts. I've not clicked anything. It's advancing after 2 seconds. Vanessa and Alan. Yay! And we applaud and we applaud. Now, are you ready to travel? Zoom. I hope so. Do you see how this is really getting exciting? But again, with the morph, I'm going to go into the show. I'm clicking to advance to the slide 10. I'm not touching or clicking anything. 1001, 1002. Vanessa is our expert. She's been with our company for however many years. And then there's Alan. He is also a founder and blah, blah, blah. All right, escape. So I hope you see how this is really coming together. Let's go back to the instructions. That was step 27. We're going to go to step 28. And again, we're going to apply the morph transition to slide 5 and 6. Now this is kind of cool because this time we're going to set the effect option to characters. And we're going to, then they say, make sure you look at it and click to advance through slides 4, 5, and 6. Well, let's do that. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. I'm going to go to slide 5. They said select slides 5. I'm going to hold my control key down, and 6. So I've got both of those selected. And again, on my transitions, I'm going to choose morph. Okay, well, that just looked like it changed from one slide to the next because I have to come down here to effect options and characters. Oh, did you see that preview? Isn't that cool? Haven't you seen that in real professional presentations? and now you know how to do it. Save that. I'm going to click on slide 4 just so we can see. This one just relaxes me. I love to see that. I'm going to go into the show. Featured destination. I clicked. Do you see the letters? The characters kind of go and form this. I'm like, ooh, what? Oh, the island. It helps with the reveal because it focuses me. I really want to know what the answer to the puzzle is, right? Now on to the next one. Isn't your mind trying to figure out, oh, what's coming next? What's coming next? So you really get engaged in the presentation. Escape, and I'm back. Let's go back to our instructions. That was step 28. So you know step 29 is submit. Makes me nervous. I hope we've done everything correctly. We're going to see. Save that. Oh, save the instructions. You don't have to save the instructions. Close the instructions. Save your PowerPoint. Make very sure that it's saved. I'm going to close my PowerPoint because I would never want anything open. You are getting breaking news through this video, which is that we are all going to stick with submitting our files through the myitlab.com website. I'm going to pull that up so that we can submit and see how I did. If I make errors, as usual, I will note them in the PowerPoint. Since I now know that we're all working through this MyLab IT, I do want to encourage you to avoid the default screen, which is a to-do list, and it is inaccurate because if you did an assignment, okay, if you do an assignment, but you fail it, or you make just a poor passing grade, you may not realize that you can submit again. So make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities. One way to do that is come down here to course materials. Everything is neatly organized into folders. At this point, we are really close to the end of our assignments. So here's our last chapter. I'm going to go to the PowerPoint grader and open that up. Now I've already downloaded the files, you know that. I'm going to choose my files, and what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that I navigate to the correct folder, my PowerPoint 4 folder. I'm going to select that file that has my last name. Open, and then what? When I upload, I need to wait not just for 100%, I need to wait for success. 100% is not enough. You got to give 110% for success, and then submit for grading. I always like to be patient. It'll close this box automatically as it grades. PowerPoint files, remember, they are larger, and so they do take time, and apparently they even take a little more time to grade. I mean, think of all those graphics that it's looking at. Okay. And, oh no, okay, 94.7 something, there was something I said I might have done wrong. Let's just see. What did I miss? Oh, the background image. Well, I know we did that. Did I miss one of the steps? We did the offset. Now, this was step 15. Okay, let's see, what did I miss? Well, I don't know what they're talking about with the texture. The picture was not set correctly. Well, there was only one picture, so that's the one we had to use. I want to emphasize to you again that I'm really working in advance of the book. You may have noticed a minute ago that the grader, or that the simulation, that I had not finished the simulation. There's actually some trouble, so I couldn't finish. So, but you know, I'm looking at all these and I'm reporting, and these things, I'm telling you folks, it's going to be smooth for you, okay? Which is one reason why I'm working through this. I want you to have a great experience, which is why I'm here to support you, and I hope you have felt that throughout our course. Okay, well, they say I didn't set this picture correctly, so let's just go back real quick and check that. So I have reopened my PowerPoint. I'm looking again at step 15, which dealt with slide 4. So let me come to slide 4. And remember, this is where we set the back. It does look like it has a little edge here that seems odd. I'm going to right click anywhere on this slide. Right click, format background. What? Okay, well, my offset is sure enough not there. So, okay. Let me, it says offset at the top, so let me put this in. 16, I'm not sure what's happening here. Enter. Did I? I'm going to click down here. Negative, what was that again? 73%. Enter. Now, I don't want to apply this to all. I'm clicking, I like to click away. It's very important, maybe if I click in another box, to really make sure it sets up. Save it. I thought I saved before. Let me click on one or two other slides. I'm just clicking other slides. Now I'm going to go back to slide 4. I still see it. I'm going to save it and close it. I don't trust it, so I'm going right back in. It's opening on my other screen. I apologize. Here it is. And slide 4. Right click. Format background. Okay. I see it there. You know what I wonder? I wonder if something that we did in formatting the rest of I can't think of anything, but formatting the rest of our PowerPoint, did we do something... just wondering if we did something that caused that to come undone. We morphed, but we morphed on slide 5, which I still... Okay, I don't know. Let's just try it again. That wasn't bad if that's the only thing we missed. And I might... Well, I don't... Okay, so let's go back. I've reopened this, so I'm ready. You know, I want to maximize my learning and I want to maximize my points. So I'm going to try again, and that's something you can do. Click our file. Make sure it's the chapter 4 file. Open. Upload. Remember, 100% is not enough. Need success. Now that we have success, we can submit for grading. I'm going to try to be patient and let it grade. See, it still says 1 attempt, so I know it hasn't graded. Sometimes it can be confusing if you see that your second attempt is there, but the grade hasn't changed. It may mean that you actually kind of messed something up and your grade went down. Because remember, I only because I only use your highest score from your submissions. See the quiz here? 2 attempts. You don't know. That 100% may be the first attempt or the second attempt. Okay. I gotta know. How did we do? View submissions. Well, we improved, but something is still not right. Is it that same step 15? Yeah, step 15 is still fussing. The picture or texture was not set correctly. Okay, this is where you are smarter and you all already know, and you're yelling at the video that this is what I did wrong. You've probably been yelling it since step 15. So you can post it in the comments of the YouTube video. I would love to hear it. And I learned from you all. We learned together. I do hope this video was helpful. Our last chapter grader, but we do have the capstone, and so, you know, be prepared for that. And I hope this was fun, and I hope you are just bubbling with ideas for your business, for your work, for whatever it is. Thank you, folks. We'll talk to you later.